Welcome back to another episode of the Chronically Online podcast. It's just me today. Honestly, today's topic is pretty compelling because I think it's one that has inadvertently kind of affected me throughout my entire career. Not even my entire career, actually my entire life. I know it's Pride Month and, we love Pride Month. Shout out to Pride Month. But in honor of Pride Month, I'm going to be talking about my relationship to the way my sexual orientation has been weaponized against me. But here's the twist. It's always by people in the LGBTQ community. And it's not even like random gay guys either all the time. It'll be like random community leaders or LGBT entertainers, which is so weird because I feel like what I do is so harmless. and they get nasty with it too. Now, I know I've touched on this briefly a few times on the show when I go on some tangents saying, oh, I don't think gay men like me very much, but I think it's really important to get into it and really level set with everyone now, especially with my music being due really soon. And there's the incoming looming threat of being called a queer pop star. And so much of the hate I receive, it's always from gay men, all shapes and sizes. I read a hate comment, I read a mean tweet, and you click on the profile, and what do you know? It's almost always a gay man. Big shocker. And usually it's just random gay guys. It's hurtful, and I can handle it, though. They're just haters online, and until it wasn't. Now, this is where we cue Jordan Firstman, who began spending his album release week making hate TikToks about me. I was so confused. This whole thing happened last year. I understand when it's like a random kid on Twitter sort of just making a hate tweet, but when it's someone in your field who's in their 30s when you're freshly 21, to do it, it's kind of just particularly jarring and strange and isolating and really venomous, really evil. I mean, you've achieved a lot more than me professionally, a lot more. You've done multiple films at this point, and we're in the process of developing more. I mean, you'd been on TV, signed a major label deal. I get it. I mean, English teacher was canceled, but you had I Love LA coming up at this point. You were booked. I mean, he has 10 plus years of life experience over me, professional experience as well. He's seen more. He's navigated a lot of more difficult situations than I have, but here we are, week of his album release. And also, he was actively in the process of developing what would be his con debut with the producers from Honora, which won Best Picture, and you're still whacking me for no real reason either. And the thing that really bothered me is that while all of the people who just write those mean comments and hate tweets have never really been on the receiving end of that backlash, I know for a fact that he had. And look, if he'd just come out and been like, oh, I don't like his videos, I'd understand. But instead, he decided to call me like this young twink, which is categorically true. But it's now really just a more brand safe way of saying with no risk. Straight people can weaponize that word without any risk of being homophobic, and he knew that. He knew that. But spending time trying to take me down was more important than promoting his record and more important than protecting one of his own. And on top of that, he blocked me, thinking, oh, I wouldn't see it. He can dogpile on me, but I can't say anything back. Message received, really mature. Now, all of this bothered me. I mean, genuinely, so much so to the point when I saw him 7 months later at an Acne Studios event, I went up to him and I confronted him, and I was sad to do it, honestly, because at that point I was genuinely a fan. Like, I'd seen clips of him do English teacher. He was one of my favorite characters in I Love LA. I thought he was super funny. The show at that point was pretty successful. He was one of my favorite characters. And obviously for me, this was kind of bittersweet. I mean, it was like nice seeing someone in the community get this big star-making turn, get this leg up. But personally, it was a little bit horrifying knowing it was someone who really just seemed to not like me, hate me, have a lot of vitriol toward me. So I did what I had to do. I confronted him and I was like, hey, I love your work. It's awesome. But I saw your TikTok about me and it wasn't cool. To which he's like, oh, you saw that? Are you stalking me? And when I was like, no, it was sent to me. You have me blocked. He just caved to this really shitty default answer. And he was like, oh, I was just being a gay guy, Oh, sorry. Right. You had all that smoke for me on the internet, but when I went up to you in person, somehow I'm the problem. I'm the weird one for going up to you and asking why you would post something about me, knowing the exact kind of pain I was going through. Because as a gay man in entertainment, you'd gone through the same damn thing. It's kind of a universal experience. It was so difficult and frustrating just hearing this nothing burger response from someone who's truthfully work I enjoyed. I mean, you always have such witty writing. You're always quick to have a great comeback, but this time you had nothing to say. Really? And I know he felt guilty about it too, because he went on the Trisha Paytas podcast and he was essentially being like, oh, well, I wasn't used to having to deal with that kind of thing because I said something to him instead of the heated rivalry boys. But dude, you're like 34 years old and you'd been doing this publicly at a level since notoriety since like 2020, let alone doing it not at a level of notoriety years prior. I mean, predating to when I even made my first video. It's evil. It's mean. And I'm not expecting an apology at this point. The damage is done. Lesson learned. The gays in showbiz are just like not interested in having my back. They'd rather kind of take me down. And it makes me realize, I might happen to be alone in this journey. But all of this made me dig really deep into the question of why do gay men seem to hate other gay men, or specifically why do gay men hate gay male pop stars? And really the answer is today because they're obsessed almost to this like religious degree with female pop stars. It's nothing new. I mean, gay men have always been worshiping or standing strong women throughout history. There's this philosopher, Camille Paglia, writer as well. She's great. And she's discussed this a lot. Basically, we've had everything from court eunuchs worshiping queens and Catholic priests praying to Virgin Mary, and more recently, gay guys like standing Madonna and Ariana Grande, and none of it's really new. Gay guys just love these feminine displays of power and art. They love their mothers, and I'm the same way. I love mine too. And whenever a gay man enters the scene, though, and it's kind of like he's the one in front of the camera, they're like crucified by the gay fan base that upholds these female pop divas. I mean, Troye Sivan dealt with it, and Sam Smith has dealt with it. Lil Nas deals with it. And it's just, these are kind of only the people who have made it into the mainstream. Now, fundamentally, I feel like these gay stans are in awe of the power the pop divas hold. I feel like they're almost like jealous of their power. To a certain degree, they live vicariously through it. But as soon as the pop diva kind of becomes like a gay guy, it kind of hits too close to home. They're reminded of the fact that they're living through them vicariously, and kind of their jealousy, and become insecure about their own lack of ambitions and power, or sometimes even talent. And when it's another gay guy succeeding, it poses a threat to them, and it forces them to reckon with the question, well, why not me? And so I feel like because of that, a lot of gay men will sort of ruthlessly tear down other gay men on the rise, particularly in industries with high visibility and glamour. They let their jealousy kind of get the best of them, and the love for a pop diva quickly becomes hatred and insecurity in the face of a kind of a gay guy at the top of their game. So this is what's kind of just like, I feel like almost happening to a lot of gay guys in the industry right now. It's not just like a me thing. I feel like there's no solidarity. It's kind of just, you have these like catty old queens like Jordan Firstman just sitting there and like coming at the young lit bitches like me for doing the same thing that he's doing. And it's just like literally all we're trying to do is just all achieve our dreams. So that's kind of my thoughts on Jordan Firstman a little bit in that whole situation, because honestly, it's irked me for a very long time. I hate when someone has all this smoke for you on the internet and they won't just go and say it to your face. It's like, come on, dude, be an adult. I do it. Now, I mean, it's no secret that I'm like a boy kisser. It's something I was kind of taunted with my entire life, whether it was schoolyard children or just like random trolls on the internet, kind of using my sexuality as something that they could dangle over my head as this big gotcha moment to make me feel bad or feel shameful about myself. But ironically, I feel like the people who really, really, really try to hold it against me or use it against me and call me an annoying twink or or threaten violence against me or sometimes even my family and whatever, it's almost always a gay man. And it's kind of a really big reason why I never care to celebrate Pride Month. So it's honestly kind of this big reason why I don't personally care to celebrate Pride Month. I mean, either professionally or personally, my own community, it's like they've made me out to be this kind of pariah. And coming out right off the bat, it was never something that was easy. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't petrified to have to go to my parents and sit them down and have the conversation with them. I always knew the reception in my family could be kind of mixed. I mean, from the time I was a young kid, you know, I wouldn't necessarily want to play football with my cousins, or I wanted to play with, you know, my toys. I'd have these family members complain to my parents that they were worried I might turn out to be gay or bisexual or whatever. And it was this optional lifestyle choice that needed to kind of be like disciplined out of me, as if it was something, you know, that I could choose and control. But the funny thing about it, actually, about coming out, was I never had to do it. So, as you all know, I've been on the internet since I was a young kid. And so, of course, that led me to find social media from a pretty young age. And, you know, I found my community of my fellow pop star fans and lovers, and we bonded over our love of music. And even sometimes that wasn't over the same artist. We just had a common ground. We just loved the same kind of stuff. And so, you know, of course, the internet stands can always just get really sort of passionate, I guess would be the right word, to say the least. So basically, I got in an argument with this girl, and it was over something like really random too. And so as retaliation, she doxed me and called my house to go out me to my parents, because, you know, it was an internet friend. I'd been telling her about what was going on in my personal life, da 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 da. And it's kind of sad, because as far as internet friends go, this is someone I was actually pretty close with. And so they knew what they were doing. They were doing this solely to hurt me. They had my big secret, and they were using it against me. They were weaponizing it against me as a means to hurt me. And transparently, I mean, I found out the goal was to get me to myself. I mean, my mom came in my room and then she asked me about it, and I was petrified. I was so scared, not only because, I mean, the honestly kind of transparent veil had been lifted. It was the first time my private matters and struggles had really been weaponized against me as a means to hurt me, and because someone had really just gone as far as to dox me over like a stan argument. And after that day, every time the phone rang, I'd get really, really, really anxious, and I'd have to just like ground myself back in reality. And sometimes it was really her calling to just torment me further and see if I'd done it yet, or get me in further trouble. And eventually she even got around to like sending emails to my dad. And I don't even know how she found his email. To this day, I still don't know. But she'd always send something really heinous and to try and out me, basically. And then she'd sign it off as Dua, like as in Lipa, because she knew I really liked Dua Lipa. It was just a way to pour a little more salt directly in the wound. I mean, most of the time, the person calling would just be like my grandma or my uncle, or calling just to ask my mom about something. And so as time, things got easier. Eventually, no phone calls from her were made. The email stopped, and my anxiety really dissipated a bit. Part of me always will worry that it will come back into my life, but I have nothing to hide anymore. And considering I survived a coordinated attack trying to get me to myself when I was 14, whatever life throws at me, I'll probably be able to handle it. I mean, I found a lot of solace in similar stories from other people in the community, and I even looked at tragic stories from fellow community members like Leela Alcorn to just kind of remind myself how, in spite of all of that trauma, and how even though there was still a really shitty situation, I mean, I had a community, and I was still really, really, really lucky to have ended up all right, basically. So 2 years down the line, the 2020 election happened, and I was 16 when this happened. I feel like a lot of people have called this period of time, like 2020 election cycle, like the period of time that was peak woke. And I mean, the proof was really in the pudding. I mean, COVID aside, and no one getting to dance in the streets to Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande's like Rain on Me. It was a good time for the LGBT community. I mean, dude, even Trump was doing like Gays for Trump with Tiffany Trump, and he had that whole thing at the White House. I mean, the stigmas from like 30, 40 years ago during like the Reagan era were really, it felt like they were starting to disappear a little bit. So Joe Biden, he won the election, and I feel like a lot of people felt really good about that. People were generally in good spirits about it, it kind of feels like. But of course, with all presidencies and all politicians, I mean, approval ratings will fluctuate. I mean, it's not a crazy statement at all to say that a lot of the people who voted for Biden, who were like extremely woke at the time, have kind of just like flipped to the other side of that spectrum midway through that like 4-year term or so of Biden, because you had people like Dasha from Red Scare who made it seem like this cool aesthetic and like a choice to dabble in this like ironic sort of conservatism. I mean, we saw it with the Rina Sawayama reception on This Hell, where people were like, this is like 2013 Pride YouTuber music and it's like so lame and whatever. So midway through his term brings us to 2022, which is exactly when I began my internet journey in my quest to pop stardom. Now, at this point, I was really no stranger to internet virality. I mean, I dabbled in it a few years prior when there's this video of me basically arguing in the streets about like who's the better pop star, Selena Gomez or Zara Larsson. And this video hits the internet and it made me into this overnight hyper niche micro celebrity. And the phrase "you stan Zara Larsson" was tied to me. And the video was received honestly pretty well by the LGBT community, the very chronically online community. And at the time, I thought everyone was just on the same wavelength. I thought that, you know, when I consistently started posting videos, the same community, they found it funny. I received that same kind of love, that same kind of support, but it was only until I actually started hitting like mainstream success. I mean, these videos that all of a sudden had only really gotten like 500,000 views max were now getting millions. And the celebrities who I was like singing for, they knew who I was and people were getting to know who I was. And so with the increased popularity, obviously it comes more opinions about me and the content I was posting and the intention behind all of it. And I'm well aware that that kind of just comes with the territory. When you do anything to any degree for a public audience, I mean, people are going to have opinions on something as harmless as a street performer that they pass on the street while they're walking by. Some people were really kind and astute and even considered what I was doing as performance art. Others were not as kind. And a lot of the vitriol being sent my way was, you guessed it, from gay men. And at first it was just 1 or 2 hate tweets or comments here or there. And I mean, light work. But then when they saw one person doing it, a lot of them changed their stance on me because it was like permission to hate on me. It was, I no longer fit the status quo. It was no longer the status quo for me to be likable because I was becoming too successful. And as is the case with many gay men, they tend to view each other as competition. Hi, Jordan. And anywho, hundreds, thousands of hate comments. And of course, there were a lot of positive comments too. Every time I'd click the profile though of someone leaving a hate comment, guessed it, gay man, praising or sometimes tearing down a female pop star. And I believe it is no secret for me to say, and I don't think it's a crazy assumption for me to say that I feel like for a lot of these men, they were jealous of me. I mean, I was living their dream. I got to hang out with pop divas for a living and all off of what they deemed was this kind of gimmick that anyone could do. And I didn't deserve to be the one behind it, even though I put hours into creating and crafting everything, as well as doing all disturbing amount of networking. I mean, guys, like I had to actually find the people to get the videos done. Like if you weren't, well, I put the work in for it. So sometime around early to mid 2024, I want to say that's when I really began achieving mainstream success as a content creator. And so because of that, you know, a lot of brands or organizations or celebrities or just generally anyone you could think of they were reaching out to me to be a part of their Pride campaign. And around this time is also kind of when I began to accept personally that I was not fully accepted by the gay community and that they would not have my back. Should anything happen to me, they would probably just like celebrate. And I just simply, I wasn't the representation they were looking for. And transparently, I also didn't really want to be the representation they were looking for. I mean, I'd seen what they'd done to Troye Sivan, who was already complaining back in like 2018 that he'd felt like by associating too closely to the community, he was like capping off his chances of commercial success. I mean, when you think gay Gen Z pop star, that's your go-to. Even when Lil Nas came out, gays were doing anything in their power to kind of tear him down. It was very apparent they just did not like seeing him be successful. I didn't and still do not want to be a part of that lineage, and I just quickly realized I need to disregard the whole thing. But by making that decision, I also left behind a lot of major opportunities because it was all for pride. I turned down my first magazine cover. It was a Pride edition. I'd turned down tens of thousands of dollars to stand on a Pride float and make a TikTok at New York Pride. I'd been driven away, and I understand the kind of representation the community was looking for was probably more living vicariously through female pop stars or straight female entertainers than through one of their own. And I get it. I'm not guilty of feeling the same way sometimes. And bar a few exceptions like Sufjan Stevens or Perfume Genius, I realize, you know what? If it's not going to be one of those two, I should really just cut my losses, and I really just shouldn't even focus on the community as a whole. And of course, I'd be lying if I said that none of this bothered me. I mean, obviously it does. I'm talking about it, but no one wants to feel isolated or feel exiled from any sort of party, I guess. It's not fun, and business is business, and sanity is my sanity. And of course, the hate tweets continued, but I'd kind of come to a place of peace with it a little bit because at least they were just calling me annoying then, until suddenly the narrative changed. I was no longer just annoying or a pest, but I was an annoying twink or an annoying and that was always the go-to insult. It was never that I was untalented or that I was a nuisance or I was stale. It was not any actual critiques on the work itself. It was always just like these jeers and boos at my sexuality. And the weird thing is, a lot of this really started, this narrative, this vitriol, it started from my own community. I just became this doormat for people to project their own insecurities and their own internalized struggle to, because what I did technically wasn't legitimate, so it was okay, because at least when you do it to someone like Troye Sivan, well, he's a seasoned pop star, or Lil Nas, well, you're just jealous because he's talented, but with me, the whole shtick is that, well, he's not talented. It's kind of like a funny joke, so there was no one to defend my actual skills or talent or anything. It was just these jeers and boos at my sexuality. And so I want to say the shift really began to happen when Trump won his second term, and that cultural pendulum really kind of swung back into full force. I mean, I feel like a lot of it was also probably driven by that like ironic trad wife aesthetic, or this ironic conservative redneck dirtbag aesthetic. For a lot of people, it was no longer an ironic thing. I'd navigated troubled waters before. It hurt. It got under my skin, but I'm okay with it because I know there is no storm I will not weather in order to protect what I'm doing and the art I am making and the art I will make and all of it. And all of that has really ever been what's mattered to me since the beginning, and all that will matter to me in the end. And none of this is to say that there aren't plenty of incredible supporters of mine in the community who have done nothing but uplift me and done whatever is in their power to support me and help me do what I need to do, which includes, of course, so many of my incredible fans. I'm forever grateful to you, and I adore you more than you will ever, ever, ever know. Got me through very difficult times, clearly. But I can't help but notice that on the flip side, whenever there's someone who might not be a fan of mine, might not be a fan of my work or a video I post or something, the go-to is always comment on my sexuality. I mean, they're no different than the schoolyard bullies. They're no different than the girl who called my house to try to get me to myself over it. They're, in a way, no different than the same bigots who they all complain about. Because every time my identity becomes the target, it's the weak point, it's the Achilles heel. And I just don't think it should be that way. And so for now, I'm probably going to publicly distance myself in directly engaging in any label or any works calling me a queer representation or a queer representative of sorts, simply because, in my experience, it appears the community at hand is not interested in having me represent them. And I am not interested in representing them either. But yeah, those are just some of my thoughts on the whole idea. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Chronically Online podcast. I know I said I wasn't really going to particularly celebrate Pride Month, but I'm going to celebrate it perhaps by shouting out some of my favorite artists, inspirations, and trailblazers from the community like Keith Haring, Ethel Cain, Wendy Carlos, Sophie, Jodie Foster, Andy Warhol, George Michael, my girl Kim Petras, Frida Kahlo, Tom Ford, and there are so many more people and incredible works. Oh, also, I can't forget Madonna, but there are so many more incredible works like Portrait of a Lady on Fire or Tangerine or Paris is Burning, or if you're into something a little more experimental, there's this film from 1993, Blue. It's really incredible. They're all incredible and they're all very deeply moving, and please check out some of this incredible work if you have not gotten the chance to already. And also, on a lighter note, before I go, I have to say this. In the link tree, which will be in the description, we will have now, at the end of every episode, a Chronically Online counter. So whoever has the highest screen time, submit it and we will shout you out for each week. I'll see you guys next week. Remember to like, follow, share, subscribe, all the things. Bye.